Well, hello there, my young readers, and welcome back to the channel. And if you guys are new, welcome. We've got a story for you guys, and Franklin is back, that lovable turtle. He's growing a tree, and that would explain what you see behind me, all these tall trees. So take a moment if you need to, go get your snacks, go get your drinks, run to the bathroom. Don't forget to pause. Run to the bathroom, come on back, sit back, relax, and enjoy, and stay tuned. The name of this story is called Franklin Plants a Tree by Paulette Bourgeois and Brenda Clark. Franklin could climb trees and swing from branches. He liked to play with his friends at the treehouse and go for walks with his family in the woods. So Franklin was excited when he learned that Mr. Heron was giving away trees for Earth Day. He could hardly wait to have his own tree in his own backyard. On Earth Day, Franklin got up early and dug a huge hole right outside his bedroom window. He wanted to plant his tree as soon as he got it home. Tonight, he invited his friends over to build a new tree house. Tomorrow, he'd look for an old tire and make a swing. Franklin grabbed his wagon and hurried off. He didn't want all the big trees to be taken. In the park, a large crowd was lined up in front of Mr. Heron. Franklin saw lots of boxes, but he didn't see the trees. Maybe they're not here yet, he thought. Then he saw Rabbit leaving. "Don't you want a tree?" Franklin asked. "I have one," Rabbit replied, tapping his knapsack. Franklin was confused. Rabbit reached into his knapsack and pulled out a teeny tree. "That's not a tree," Franklin exclaimed. "That's a twig." "It's a baby tree, Franklin," explained Beaver. "It's called a sapling. Mine's an ash, and Rabbit has an oak." "Well, I'm not getting a sapling," Franklin declared. "My tree has to be big enough to play in today." But when Franklin got to the front of the line, Mr. Heron gave him a sapling the same size as the others. "Could I have something bigger?" asked Franklin. "This is a sugar maple," replied Mr. Heron. "Many years from now, it will be very big indeed." Franklin nodded sadly. He put the sapling in his wagon and walked slowly home. Franklin sighed as he stared at the huge hole in his backyard. He'd shoveled earth back in until the hole was small. Then he went to get his sugar maple, but the sapling wasn't there. Franklin looked all around the garden and up and down the lane. It must have fallen out on its way home, he decided. Franklin followed the path back to the park. By the barn, he saw Beaver. Her sapling was tied to a big stick marked with notches. "It's a growth chart," Beaver explained. "In 3 years, my tree will be taller than me." Thought Franklin. He began to look a little harder. In the meadow, Franklin saw Rabbit with a watering can. "I've planted my sapling where it can get lots of fresh air and sunshine," explained Rabbit. "And I'm going to water it every day," he added. Franklin thought about his sugar maple. If it didn't get sunshine and fresh air and water, it would never be as tall as him. Franklin started to hurry. Near the woods, Franklin saw a bear painting a small fence bright red. Inside it was Bear's sapling. This will protect my pine tree until it's big and strong, Bear explained. I don't want anyone to step on it by mistake. Franklin thought about someone stepping on his sugar maple. If that happened, it would never grow big and strong and be taller than him. Franklin told Bear everything. I've looked all over, Franklin moaned. Now what do I do? Maybe someone found your tree and gave it back to Mr. Heron, Bear suggested. Franklin cheered up and ran off to find Mr. Heron. Back at the park, Franklin saw Mr. Heron packing up boxes. How's your sapling doing in its new home? Mr. Heron asked. I lost my tree, Mr. Heron, Franklin replied. I've looked everywhere, but I can't find it. Mr. Heron reached into a box and lifted out a sapling. Is this it, Franklin? He asked. Someone found it on the path. My tree! Cried Franklin. Thank you, Mr. Heron. I'm going to plant it right away. Mr. Heron smiled. Before Franklin left, Mr. Heron showed him a photograph. That's me when I was your age, he explained, planting my first tree. Did it grow? Franklin asked. It sure did, Mr. Heron laughed. We're standing under it. Franklin looked way up. You planted the treehouse tree? He exclaimed. Then Franklin looked down at his sapling. He said thoughtfully. Franklin hurried home, his sapling held safely in his arms. He planted it and watered it, and then he checked on it every day. And every day, Franklin was sure that his tree grew a little taller and a little stronger, just like Franklin. Well, that ends our story. Franklin got disappointed a little bit there when he thought that when the tree was being given out, that he was going to get a full-blown tree. Don't know how he thought that, but he did.
Unfortunately, Franklin misunderstood that whole little project there and was disappointed. It took a little bit before he was able to get on board with the project.
You know, I love that project. And, those particular trees that they were passing out, those are really, really nice trees.
Mm-hmm.
They are primo trees. Did you see the trees that they were giving out?
Yeah, I did. I think there was an ash tree.
Mm-hmm.
Almost sounded like I said ashtray.
Yeah, it did.
An ash tree, an oak tree,
Yeah.
And Franklin, to me, got the best tree of all.
Yep, I thought so too.
He got a beautiful sugar maple tree. I don't think he knew exactly what he had, but
no, he didn't.
That is, as you say, a primo tree.
Primo. I mean, that's an expensive tree when you look at it from a landscaping point of view.
Mm-hmm.
And also, when you look at it, period, it is such a beautiful tree.
It really, really is. And I think Franklin got a beautiful tree. Now, don't get me wrong. That oak down there is looking pretty majestic itself. I wouldn't mind having that. Now, the trees that they get, they should know. I hope they know what they're going to turn into, but they won't turn into that if they don't treat it properly with the maintenance, being able to make sure it gets the water, the sunlight, get everything that a growing tree needs.
Yeah, that's what I think that program is really set up for, is that, the participants learn how to do all of that because, Franklin thought he was getting a full-grown tree. He had dug the hole for it and everything. He thought he was going to get the tree, minus the work, no work included. But unfortunately for him, he was getting a sapling, and it did come with work that he had to do. He had to put into it. But I think he learned from his friends how his friends were taking care of their particular saplings, that when he was able to go back to Mr. Heron, let him know that somehow, some way, he had lost his, and Mr. Heron saved the day by giving it back to him when someone else found it that, he lost on the trail, on the path
Mm-hmm.
that he, was taking.
Lucky,
So it
lucky.
ended up being an all's well that ends well situation. And I love those particular stories.
Me too. Well, little darling, that's my time. I have got to run, and I will see you and everyone else in the next episode. Bye!
Well, there goes Miss Triangel. I think she enjoyed this story, and I know I did. So I hope you guys got a lot out of this, because trees, if you go out and you look around, you see the trees around there, know that where they started, what it took for them to get to that majestic look you see now with these big trees. You want to be sure that you take good care of them, because they take care of us. They produce for us. And of course, we all need that. So I think we all got a great takeaway from this story. And until next time, my young readers, I am your little darling narrator, out.